Go ahead and subscribe, please. This case takes place in the USA in September of 2025. A shocking incident at a Dallas motel stunned the state and grabbed international attention. What started as a routine argument quickly spiraled into a horrifying event witnessed by bystanders and captured on CCTV. This is the case of Chandra Nagamalaya. Chandra was born on December 2, 1974, in India. Back home, he was an entrepreneur running a small hotel business in Bangalore, but he dreamed of better opportunities abroad. In 2018, he moved to the United States, joining a sibling who had built a hotel business there decades earlier. He settled in Dallas, Texas, with his wife and their son, who was born around 2007. By 2025, the family had fully made Dallas their home. In Dallas, Chandra worked tirelessly as the manager of the Downtown Suites Motel in Old East Dallas. Friends and family affectionately called him Bob. He was known as a devoted husband, a loving father, and an all-around kind person. A close friend described him as a jolly guy who was never angry. He'd laugh off jokes and always steered clear of conflict. At the motel, Chandra was hard-working, friendly, and had a gentle demeanor. He even lived on site with his family, his wife and their 18-year-old son, Gaurav. Wednesday, September 10, 2025, started like any other day at the motel. It was morning, and staff were handling their usual routines. Just after 8 a.m., Chandra was working with 2 employees, a female housekeeper, and a man named Jodonis Cobos Martinez. Jodonis was cleaning a ground floor room 108. Chandra's wife was in the front office, and his son was nearby on the property. What unfolded over the next 20 to 30 minutes turned an ordinary morning into pure horror. Inside room 108, an argument broke out over a broken washing machine. Chandra told Jodonis not to use the motel's washer. But there was a language barrier. Chandra didn't speak Spanish, and Jodonis didn't speak English. When Chandra asked the other employee to translate, Jodonis took it as a personal insult. He got angry that Chandra wasn't addressing him directly and felt disrespected by needing a translator. The coworker later told police this translation issue set him off. Heated words were exchanged, and Jodonis stormed out of the room in a rage. But that wasn't the end, it was just the beginning. Moments later, Jodonis returned, this time armed with a large machete. What followed was a sudden, explosive burst of violence. According to investigators, Jodonis attacked Chandra without warning, swinging the blade repeatedly and hacking at him multiple times. Chandra was stabbed and slashed, suffering horrific wounds, but he was still alive. He managed to break free and ran for his life, screaming for help. He bolted out of room 108 and sprinted across the parking lot toward the motel's main office, where his family was. Security cameras captured it all. Chandra yelling and running, with Jodonis chasing right behind, machete in hand. Chandra's only goal was to reach his wife and son to warn them and find safety. One motel guest watched in shock and later said he chased him from room 108 all the way to the office. Chandra was trying to get there to tell his family to run. Chandra made it as far as he could, but Jodonis caught up just outside the front office. Hearing the chaos, Chandra's wife and son came running out only to face a nightmare. They saw Jodonis attacking Chandra again with the machete. Both tried desperately to intervene, pulling at the attacker, but there was nothing they could do. Chandra's wife screamed, and his son grappled with Jodonis, but the attacker was in a frenzy. He shoved them aside and kept hacking at Chandra. A bystander saw the horror, rushed over, pulled the wife and son away, and urged them to get back. Jodonis showed no mercy. He swung the machete repeatedly at Chandra, even as he lay unconscious in the parking lot. At one point, he paused to rifle through Chandra's pockets, taking his cell phone and a lanyard with motel key cards. Then the brutality escalated even further. Jadanis grabbed Chandra's head and began hacking through his neck until the head was completely severed from the body. By around 8:30 a.m., Chandra was dead, his mutilated body lying in the parking lot. But the attacker wasn't done. With the blooded machete in one hand and Chandra's severed head in the other, Jadanis stood for a moment. He then placed the head on the ground and kicked it twice across the parking lot. As one witness put it, he kicked his head like a soccer ball. It still didn't end there. Jadanis calmly picked up the head, walked to a nearby dumpster on the motel grounds, and tossed it in the trash. All of this happened in broad daylight, before emergency services arrived. The entire attack lasted just minutes. Surveillance footage captured much of it in chilling detail. Chandra's wife and son were left horrified and deeply traumatized. Onlookers struggled to process the adrenaline-fueled nightmare unfolding in front of them. As it happened, multiple witnesses called 911. At 8:31 a.m., just minutes after the beheading, the first responders arrived. An ambulance crew pulled up, responding to reports of an active stabbing. But paramedics aren't trained to enter dangerous scenes, so they held back at a safe distance when they saw the situation. Jadanis was still on site, covered in blood, holding the machete, and walking away from the scene. The paramedics followed him discreetly from their vehicle. Dallas police swarmed the area within minutes. Around 8:35 a.m., officers spotted Jadanis about a block from the motel and moved in to arrest him. He hadn't gotten far and made no real effort to hide or flee. When police took him into custody, he was still holding the bloody machete and had Chandra's cell phone on him. His clothes and body were soaked in blood, undeniable evidence tying him to the crime. He was arrested without resistance. So, who was this man, and what could drive someone to such savagery? Jadanis was born in March 1988 in Cuba. At some point, he left Cuba and entered the United States illegally, eventually ending up in Texas. By 2025, he was working as maintenance and cleaning staff at the Dallas motel where Chandra was manager. But behind this low-key job was a long, violent criminal history spanning multiple states. In the 8 years before the murder, he'd been arrested and charged in Florida, California, and Texas. In 2017 in Florida, felony grand theft auto for allegedly stealing a Mercedes-Benz. Later that year in California, attempted carjacking. He was completely naked, tried to drag a woman from her car, climbed in with her, and assaulted her. In 2018 in Texas, indecency with a child. While awaiting trial, he punched a jailer in the jaw. In 2023 in California, arrested for a 2017 carjacking and false imprisonment. In August 2023, a judge granted him probation on the false imprisonment charge. Late 2023 in Texas, arrested on a fugitive warrant and handed to ICE. With his rap sheet, an immigration judge had already ordered him deported to Cuba. But Cuba refused to take him back because of his criminal record, leaving him stuck in U.S. custody. Under U.S. law, if the home country won't issue travel documents, ICE must eventually release the person under supervision. So, on January 13, 2025, ICE released Jadanis on an order of supervision. He walked free with required check-ins. By September 2025, he was living in Dallas and working at the motel. Despite his dangerous past, he'd avoided long-term prison or deportation. After the arrest, officials called him a barbaric criminal with an extensive rap sheet. Back at the motel, investigators processed the gruesome scene. They found Chandra's decapitated body in the parking lot and recovered his head from the dumpster. Even for seasoned detectives, the brutality was shocking. During interrogation, Jadanis confessed almost immediately. With the confession, CCTV footage, and eyewitnesses, there was zero doubt about his guilt, but police still wanted a motive. The answer, incredibly trivial. From his own admission and witness statements, Jordanis flew into a rage over a perceived slight not being spoken to directly, having to go through a translator. That was it. No premeditation, no long-standing grudge, just sudden, uncontrollable fury that turned deadly. By late morning on September 10th, Dallas police charged Jordanis with capital murder. In Texas, that's reserved for the worst homicides and allows prosecutors to seek the death penalty or life without parole. He was booked into Dallas County Jail, and ICE placed an immigration detainer on him, meaning even if he somehow made bail, he'd go straight to federal custody. Of course, no bail was granted. Police collected overwhelming evidence, blood, fingerprints, and the surveillance video which showed the entire crime, including the decapitation and the kicking of the head. Within a day, the Dallas decapitation was global news, though somewhat overshadowed by the assassination of Charlie Kirk that same day. Two of the most shocking crimes in recent memory, both caught on camera. Jordanis made his initial court appearance days later, where the capital murder charge was formally read. Legal experts say the case could qualify for the death penalty not just for the murder, but because it happened during a robbery. He took Chandra's phone, and the killing was deemed outrageously cruel. A public defender was assigned. No mental health evaluations or defense strategies have been made public yet, but given the extreme violence, insanity or competency pleas could come up later. As of mid-December 2025, the case is still in early stages. Just 3 days after the murder, Chandra's family held a funeral in Texas. A beloved husband and father was gone, and a community was left grieving. An online GoFund was launched to help with funeral costs, living expenses, and Gaurav's education. It quickly blew past its $50,000 goal. Link pinned in comments and description. Authorities have vowed full justice. President Trump personally stated the criminal will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. With airtight evidence, video, confession, witnesses, the trial will likely focus on punishment, not guilt. Due to his immigration status, any sentence will be served in the U.S. Deportation isn't an option unless he's somehow released. The Dallas motel decapitation is one of the most gruesome cases in the area in recent memory. The fact it was all on camera only adds to the horror. Many are calling for the death penalty. Some speculate the defense might try an insanity plea. Either way, Jordanis Cobos Martinez will almost certainly never walk free again.